Cuba is bracing for the arrival of Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, expected to hit the island's eastern region on Tuesday night, October 28th. Let's listen into the state meteorologist explaining the path of this hurricane.
Tenemos acá, pueden ver las temperaturas justo al sur de Jamaica y también al sur de la región oriental. Por tanto, Melissa es categoría 5 actualmente, debe debilitarse un poco cuando interacciones, sobre todo con Jamaica, las zonas montañosas de Jamaica, pero vean las aguas, una vez que salga nuevamente a los mares al norte de Jamaica, puede nuevamente ganar un poco más de fuerza justo antes de llegar al sur de la región oriental. Por tanto, es un huracán muy peligroso y representa un peligro latente ya para la región oriental. Durante el día de hoy y mañana tendremos, por supuesto, las últimas jornadas de preparación ante la llegada de
President Miguel Diaz-Canel has convened the National Defense Council to ensure timely evacuations from flood-prone areas. Let's listen into the president.
Zonas de inundación, aguas abajo de presas, micropresas, todo eso hay que protegerlo. Todo esto haciéndolo a tiempo. Es muy importante proteger la población, pero también proteger los bienes de la población.
In Holguin province, workers secured the Providencia Solar Park built to withstand winds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. Meteorologists warn that while the storm may weaken slightly over Jamaica, it could regain strength before making landfall in Cuba. Hurricane warnings have been issued for Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, and Holguin provinces as Melissa's maximum winds reach 265 kilometers per hour.
Well, we inherited a huge mess in relation to pretty well all departments in government, and that includes the Home Office. If you take the issue of asylum hotels, for example, we had years under the previous government where they didn't process claims. So tens of thousands of people didn't have their claims processed. They were then housed in hotels. That was the policy of the last government. There were 400 at the height of it. It's now about 200. I'm determined that we will close those hotels. We're processing the claims much more quickly, and where people have got no right to be in our country, we're removing them at a higher rate than best part of a decade. So we're taking the action.
The British Prime Minister has said that he was determined to close hotels hosting asylum seekers and blamed this previous government for a huge mess left behind. Starmer has reacted to the situation. Let's listen into what he has said. Now we move on to our next we stay on this news. Meanwhile, the Turkish Prime Minister has stated that Home Office was now processing asylum claims much quicker, adding that his government was removing those who do not have the right to remain in the UK more efficiently than anyone in the past decade. King Charles has unveiled a memorial dedicated to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender military personnel, marking his first official engagement in support of the LGBTQ+ community. The government-funded open letter memorial is designed to honor those currently serving and commemorate veterans affected by the British military's ban on LGBT officers, which was lifted in 2000. This was 33 years after male homosexuality was partially decriminalized in England and Wales. A bronze sculpture at the memorial resembles a crumpled freestanding letter containing words from personal messages that were used as evidence to incriminate individuals. The unveiling of the memorial follows recommendations from an independent investigation commissioned by the British government. The investigation reported systematic abuse, including sexual assault and dismissal of LGBT service members. The government has offered finance redress of up to $93,947 to those impacted. we move on. The UN rights chief has warned that the Sudanese city of El-Fasher was in an extremely precarious situation, with the likelihood of ethnicity-motivated violations and atrocities rising after paramilitary forces claimed control. UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher sounded the alarm amid reports of civilian casualties and forced displacement in the capital city of North Darfur State. The RSF has been laying siege to El-Fasher for nearly 18 months in a bid to take control of the Sudanese army's last stronghold in the vast western region of Darfur. The fighting has trapped at least 250,000 civilians and forced hundreds of thousands of others to flee their homes. He has also called for an unimpeded humanitarian access and safe passage for all civilians escaping the fighting. Now we move on to our next news. Police in Montenegro have detained dozens of Turkish and Azeri nationals following a weekend of violence in the capital city of Podgorica. The violence was triggered after a Montenegrin man was stabbed by a group of Turkish citizens. The incidents occurred on Saturday night outside a cafe after a verbal altercation. Just yesterday, local residents vandalized vehicles with Turkish license plates and forced some Turkish citizens to barricade themselves inside a casino. A Turkish-run restaurant in the center of Podgorica was also targeted. Meanwhile, police have detained a Turkish national and an Azeri man suspected of the involvement in the stabbing. Additionally, 45 other Turkish and Azeri citizens were detained for suspected immigration violations. Reacting to the incident, the Turkish Foreign Ministry has called on Montenegrin authorities to ensure the safety and rights of Turkish citizens in their country. This comes as Montenegrin government temporarily suspended the visa-free regime for Turkish citizens and called for intensive discussions with Turkey on visa agreement. Argentina has given President Javier Milei a midterm elections, with his La Libertad Avanza party securing over 40% of the national vote and expanding its presence in Congress. The victory, which followed months of economic turmoil and political resistance, allows Milei to push free market reforms, including sweeping deregulation and austerity measures. Supporters celebrated the results as a sign of progress, while critics warned of growing U.S. influence and the risks of deepening inequality. Here's now how the Argentinians feel about Milei's victory.
Por lo menos va a traer un poco de tranquilidad, me refiero a la incertidumbre de la que vivíamos, que es no saber qué iba a pasar, había como muchas sensaciones raras.
Porque tengo esperanza, eso es lo principal. Para atrás ya sabemos lo que pasó. Vamos a esperar, total faltan 2 años, y si va bien voy a seguir votándolo. Ahora si llegamos 2 años y estamos siempre ahí, no.
Esperar, no espero nada. No sé, pensé que esta vez la gente iba a ser un poquito más inteligente. Pero bueno, es mi pensamiento, ¿viste? Entiendo que cada uno, o sea, muy grande Argentina y cada uno tiene un pensamiento, pero...
With that, it's a wrap on the news.